Of Beyond Baroque. Thank you. Yeah. I'd like to start by acknowledging Beyond Baroque's presence on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Tonga peoples. We acknowledge the wrong done to these peoples through settler colonialism, genocidal practices, and the violent disposition of their land. As an arts organization, we are committed to uplifting indigenous communities, their stories, and cultures. For those who don't know, Beyond Baroque is Los Angeles' oldest literary arts center. It's located here in Venice, California, founded in 1968 by George Drury Smith, first as an experimental literary magazine before reimagining itself and becoming the literary home we know it as today. We are based out of the original Venice City Hall and help support writers and help cultivate new writing through our extensive program of writing workshops, readings, and performances. We offer a number of workshops online via Zoom, such as our free weekly Monday night fiction workshop, facilitated by Raquel Baker, and our historic Wednesday night poetry workshop, currently facilitated by Martin Yago. Some of our past workshops have been 30 and 30, which was in celebration with National Poetry Month. That one was very popular, and we'll have more workshops like that throughout the year. We host over 100 programs in this theater a year. Which is really great. And one of the next programs that I want to invite you to is actually a special poetry and wine tasting fundraiser featuring the talents of Muriel Long, Stephen Rains, Cody Cisco, Eduardo Martinez Leiva, and Mandy Khan, paired with wines by Sochi Wines, Paco Wines, and Eastside Love. We're going to be gathering out here in the Poets Garden for that, and we're still looking for sponsors. We're still looking for people to attend that. We would love for you to see you guys there, because we can't make that special evening without you. Louisette Resto is putting a lot of work into that, and she's going to be hosting us that evening as well. So please do find all of that and more at beyondbaroque.org and at BB Lit Arts on our socials. In the gallery, if you've taken a look, we do have the current exhibition, the poem "My Trembling Candle" by J.I. Judy Kleinberg. If you haven't taken a look, I invite you to take a look. Upstairs, we have a small gallery. As you kind of walked in, you saw some of those pieces in the lobby, and that closes pretty soon with the closing reading on Thursday, May 7th. So welcome you back to that and for more. And finally, we offer several memberships to Beyond Baroque for starting at $75 for an individual membership. Purchasing a membership allows us to do what we do here in the space, and we can't do it without you. Since 1968, Beyond Baroque has nurtured generations of Los Angeles poets, writers, artists. And since then, we do this work with the support and the generosity of you, our audiences, our readers, so thank you. Big thank you to our staff for making tonight possible. Eric Alberg in the booth, working sound and video. Yeah, thank you, Eric. Ivan Salinas. We can do some snaps. We can clap. Ivan Salinas, our programs manager. Genesis Perez, who is out there in the bookstore, and everyone else for making tonight possible. Without that, I'm excited to host Alan, and I'm excited to get into it. Without further ado, I want to welcome our board president, Louisette Resto, to the mic. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Buenas noches. Not only am I the board president of Beyond Baroque, which I'm extremely proud of, but I'm also one of the associate editors of the Achucha Press. And so, yeah, that's right. And I'm also a poet from the Achucha Press. So again, this particular evening is extra special to me for many reasons. Not only are we having his book launching here at Beyond Baroque, but also at the Achucha Press, my first home, my home as a poet, and also from the editor's standpoint of acquiring Alan's book almost a year and change ago and getting it from Francisco. And then from getting that email saying, hey, you got to check out this guy's book, and then telling Luis, you got to read this book. You got me. Alan had me the first time I read a poem, and it had Tribe Called Quest. As a New Yorker, I was like, I'm there. Fuck it, I'm here, right? So as a hip-hop New York girl from the Bronx, like, I was all about it. So, and the book in the collection is gorgeous. So felicidades otra vez. And so before we get into the readings and the poetry, I do want to invite the founder of the Chucha Press and the founder and publisher and editor, Luis J. Rodriguez, and the director of Letras Latinas at Notre Dame University, Francisco Algaron.
Thank you, Louisette. Thank you all for being here. In December of 2024, Letras Latinas had the pleasure of wrapping up its 20th anniversary celebration with a one-poem festival here. We could not have carried out that gesture without the thoughtful curation of Louisette Resto and Xochitl Julissa Bermejo. My renewed thanks to them and the Beyond Baroque familia. When I thought about what to say tonight, I kept coming back to how much we prioritize good faith relationships as a cornerstone of our philosophy when it comes to programs. For example, Letras Latinas is a founding member of the Poetry Coalition, and one byproduct of that national alliance is relationships. Case in point, someone I forged a solid bond with over the years at our Poetry Coalition convenings was Quentin Ring. Quentin's ethos and generosity with his time has been instrumental. A number of years ago, when I was in town for an event, we both made it a point to have dinner nearby to brainstorm possible future collaborations. Tonight, I think, is one result of this. A couple of years ago, not far from here, Ivan Salinas and I had lunch to shape a partnership that resulted in a Central American poetry panel at a recent Beyond Baroque Poetry Festival. In short, it's been a pleasure to experience the evolving and deepening relationship between Letras Latinas and Beyond Baroque. And it's thrilling, therefore, to learn, as we just recently did, that Jimmy Vega is officially now the new executive director of this house. Long before this announcement, Letras Latinas had voted for Jimmy to fill a vacancy on the leadership committee of the Poetry Coalition. But what's especially nice to know is that he will be joining Letras Latinas associate Laura Villarreal on that very committee. But tonight we're here to celebrate Alan Chazaro, who I've had the pleasure of being in contact with off and on for many years, dating back to when he was a high school teacher in the Bay Area. I had the pleasure of teaching Piñata Theory, his previous book, at Notre Dame, and having him zoom in to answer my students' questions. And Alan had been great about keeping me up to speed with the evolution of the manuscript that became the book we're celebrating tonight. When it came time to think who might inaugurate this partnership between Letras Latinas and Tia Chucha Press, it wasn't a difficult decision. My thanks, therefore, to Louisette and Luis for giving These Spaceships Weren't Built for Us the definitive thumbs up. And speaking of Luis, I'll close with a quick story. In May of 2019, I was in Madrid, Spain, checking into La Residencia de Estudiantes, the dormitory that housed, when they were in college, Salvador Dalí, Luis Buñuel, and Federico Garcia Lorca. And who should I run into getting into the elevator? Luis J. Rodriguez. He and I were featured poets at an Anglophone poetry festival that week, and after he read his set in a multilingual bookshop called Desperate Literature, it was Luis who said, "Let's grab lunch." And so we broke bread and caught up. that moment also laid the groundwork for tonight, for what we've come to call the Letras Latinas Publishing Collaborative. And with that, Luis will continue this story. Please join me in welcoming him to the podium.
Thank you all for being here. I always like to tell the story when I'm beyond Baroque, because Alan represents to me a young, important voice, even though he was more ahead of his work than I was when I first came around beyond Baroque. It was late in 1970s. I was a totally green, snot-nosed, young Chicano poet. Nobody knew me, nobody cared. But I walked into a workshop with Wanda Coleman, and it was a life-affirming relationship with Wanda that even before her death we've kept. Even when I moved to LA moved to Chicago and then came back, and we had her present at Ford Amphitheater when Tia Chuchas were doing her cultural community events there, and she came and did beautiful poetry with her brother playing piano. Anyway, I mentioned that because Beyond Baroque is very important in my own development, and I'm glad to be here. Circles get made. And when I came back, Manasar Gamboa, by the way, was executive director briefly, very controversial, but he was my mentor and guide, and he helped me when I was here in LA. And then went to Chicago, and I came back 26 years ago and came back with this dream of Tia Chucha Centro Cultural. My beautiful wife, Trini, is co-founder with me of the Centro. We took the press that we started in Chicago 37 years ago and made a big, giant, huge culture space and made literature at the heart of it, but it's all the arts. But what I want to mention on that is to say that here we are. Here I am, back at the space. If you had seen me, I don't know how many years that was, 45 years ago, you wouldn't think that I would be here. And it's really amazing that we can live long enough to say, here we are, completing circles, making new connections. I want to reiterate what Francisco points out, the collaborations are key. The way we do all this work, working together, sharing. I know there's a lot of competition in poetry, which is kind of weird. I think it's like, why do you want to be competitive in poetry? There's no money in it, there's no much fame. It's like, but people get competitive. I don't want to be competitive. I want us to share, collaborate, help each other. Francisco has got that spirit all the way since I've known him. He's taken that and he's opened many doors, and that's what we should do. So in many ways, that's what this collaborative that we ended up doing with Red Hen Press and Letras Latinas and Tia Chucha Press. We've been at it for a couple of years now, but it's really opened a door so that Alan Chazaro can have this beautiful book done. We're going to have more books done, but I want to say how important it was to have that happen, that we could come together and share, and people can say, this is the book we want. I didn't know Alan, other people knew him, but they picked the right guy, His poetry, and you'll hear it, is so uniquely his. And I think this is an important part of what I tell everybody. When you're into poetry or any art, make sure you make it your own. I mean, people, they imitate. I know I used to imitate Pablo Neruda, because I loved him. You can't do that. Nobody should write like Pablo Neruda ever again. They can learn from him. They can, take images. They can learn from anybody. But the key is to keep going and make your own way. And this is what I've seen with Alan Chazaro's work. He has created a space that only belongs to him. And this book is very special because it's a Chicano book. But, I remember Chicano books over many, many years. This is really in its own category, and that's what really Chicano literature should be. I'll tell you a funny story that I'm in with this. I was in Guadalajara for the book festival, and they had me there. I was all over the place, a Chicano who could speak Spanish, which is really at the time really weird, and yeah, I'm glad. And they had me 20 media things, and then they had Salvador Plasencia. He wrote this really amazing novel called People Made of Paper. I read it, I liked it, very surreal, very different kind of a book. But he's there, they bring him in, you can't speak Spanish, but he's there presenting. And he said he was so pissed, he didn't know that I was in the audience. He was so pissed off that some teacher told him, why don't you write like Luis Rodriguez? Can you imagine somebody doing that? What a terrible thing, to tell somebody that. And he was pissed off. I don't want to write like Luis Rodriguez. He didn't know that I was in the audience. So he says that, and that's cool. Because then I get up at a certain point when the questions, and I say, well, I'm Luis Rodriguez, and the poor guy, oh. But I said, I totally agree with him. He's found a voice. It belongs to him. Let him take that voice where it needs to go. Nobody should write like me. Nobody should write like anybody else we think we look up to. So what I want to say with Alan and to say how vital it is to keep pushing that. Alan, you got your space. You got a place. You're going to make a lot out of it. And I'm really glad that Letras Latinas and the Achucha Press has collaborated to make sure that other people can hear and read your amazing, beautiful work. Muchas gracias.
Before we get to Alan, we have two other amazing poets who are going to share their voices and their work with us. First, we have David Quiroz, born in Mexico, arrived in the U.S. in 1995. He's a product of the after-school program, the Boys and Girls Club of San Fernando Valley. As an undocumented first-generation college graduate, David was re-energized after each political battle. Upon receiving DACA, David utilized every opportunity afforded to him. Dreamer Paradise, his first book, tells the story of one dreamer, as the DACA immigrant experience is not universal. Please welcome David.
Good evening. Okay, he's on the way. Okay, I'd like to start with the quote that really anchors my book. No matter how simple it might appear at first glance, every translation is thick with linguistic choices that carry political and aesthetic implications. Some of these choices, like leaving certain cultural specific terms in the language of the original, are immediately visible. Some others are not. Certain terms, for example, demand to be left in their original form. These are often described as untranslatables. Brenda Lozano, witches. DACA, DACA. Noun, deferred action for childhood arrivals. American, human, person, not an illegal alien. Sometimes called dreamers. Obama, 2012. I'm going to start with a poem I wrote, kind of like a love letter to my dad as well, which I don't have a good relationship with, but it's something that queer boys go through, I guess. Meretricious. I felt traffic in my head, and the exhaustion of his fingers, like he'd been laying brick for 8 hours straight, which he was. I didn't ask for this. A melody I had made up in my head was playing and playing and playing on repeat. While my friends were getting in line at the DMV, excited for permits, driver's permits, identifications, I was told, appointments, non-appointments, Americans only. I felt embarrassed at the Mexican consulate sometime before graduating in 2011. I made an appointment to see a Mexican official. Spanish only for all appointments. I tried my best to decipher the puzzle of words on the application, but the sentences laughed at me instead. The way people laugh after a bad joke. Years of speaking Spanglish instead of proper jargon was the real joke. I felt like a hummingbird without sweet water, like flowers do in California summers, after each question. The official reached out from his tiny box and handed me the receipt with the newly printed government ID, with the Mexican seal glossing across the meretricious card. I felt traffic in my head and returned to work with my dad. He picked me up on 6th Street. He was playing K-Love. I didn't ask for this. On repeat. These next poems are a response to Meretricious. Tears. They're short, by the way. Tears. I surrender my voice for submission. I open my vault and unleash my oath to prove I am an American citizen just like you. I surrender my politics and ask you to encapsulate my loyalty on a government-issued identity. My government. I surrender my Mexico. I surrender my Spanish. I surrender my maíz, frijoles, nopales. Don't mistake my poetry for tears. I am not broken. Don't mistake my poetry and call me ungrateful. I've earned my seat at this table. Promises walk. As if this American flag looking at me ain't enough, I have the tears of freedom pouring on me from too much laughter. When will my America be enough? How do you feel being so perfect, but not perfect enough? We were promised a paradise, but that promise will always walk the plank. It's a crow dressed as a hummingbird. It's a lie dancing at the masquerade ball, also known as DACA. Now, let's try something new. We're going to do some interactive poetry. Okay, this one's called True and False. I'm going to gauge with you with how much you may know or may not know about DACA. Let's try some examples. Non-DACA related. True or false? You're excited to be here tonight? True. Okay. True or false? You're going to buy books after this. True. True or false? You're going to tip me via Zelle or Venmo. True or false? 1. Anyone can apply for DACA. False. True or false? This program will entice criminals to come to America. False. Number 3, it is a pathway to citizenship. False. Number 4, it is a free program that hardworking Americans pay for. False. Number 5, DACA recipients put our nation at risk of crime, violence, and terrorism. False. Number 6, DACA recipients do not pay taxes. False. Number 7, you must reveal your DACA status to anyone when asked. False. Number 8, DACA people are not real Americans. False. Number 9, number 8, I think. Number 8, yeah. 9, sorry. Only Mexicans are DACA. False. And then number 10. Over 75% of American citizens are in favor of DACA and in favor of a permanent solution to the immigrant crisis. True. Statements mentioned above are statements I have heard people say in open conversation on the news, commentators, professionals, anti-DACA folk, in my face and behind my back. I'm going to end that portion of DACA now. Okay, I'm going to move on to love. Tortillas. I should have bought handmade. I was desperately looking for something to accompany my love. The recipe tells lies. You can pair this with anything. I thought it was you plus me plus you. We just needed warm tortillas wrapped in your palms, my palms together, so I kept looking. I kept walking these medium-sized aisles of your favorite tienda. The best tortillas are handmade and can only be bought at the Superior Grocers down Laurel Canyon in Pacoima. Message read. I picked up Guerrero instead. What's the difference? They're just tortillas. Okay, I'm going to end Dreamer Paradise there because I want you to buy it or pick it up at some point. I'm going to read from my latest collection now. This is from my latest collection called Sinvergüenza. Crickets in San Fernando. Pico Street in San Fernando. You can hear the crickets fight late at night. Dogs barking at strangers who pass their owner's home. 6 to 6 on the front porch. What are they protecting? San Fernando isn't what it used to be. No more jumping for territories. No more color disguise for repping. No more bam bam or oh shit get down shenanigans. 2 women sit on the porch watching the news on their outdoor TV. 55 inches plasma and smart. Am I in the wrong street? I asked the dogs. Crickets in San Fernando are loud. I wonder what they're saying about me. Do they tell their cricket friends secrets and jokes about me? The neighbors leave their Amazon boxes in their front yard. Moms leave their toddlers' toys, the balls, and the soccer net in plain sight. San Fernando isn't what it used to be. Another neighbor waters his citrus. I wonder if he knows not to water them so often. I wonder how long he's lived here. I wonder if he knew the man who once lived in San Fernando, who took all the kids. Where did he take them? Do the crickets know? Can they tell me? Or do they only sing to drown out the truth? Okay, and I'm going to end with one of my favorite poems that I've worked on, reworked. Maybe it's finished, maybe it's not. Enséñame a bailar. You leaned in for a kiss, right next to the bar at Rocco's Vijo, the only place I was worthy of your lips. Right next to the strippers and drunks, right next to the strangers who wouldn't think twice about the ring on your finger. Never tell a dreamer how much you love them. Never FaceTime them on their birthday and speak of hypotheticals. Please don't lie to a dreamer like me, because loving you in Spanish was not the same as loving you in English. It was listening to José José, Pedro Infante, Bronco, Los Bukis, and Amanda Miguel on your abuelito's old Panasonic. I loved you more in Spanish. The party was loud with music and doubt, so I kept playing our romance in my head until losing you to the crowd. Why did you kiss me, my love? All I have left is this poem, A Cascade of Loss, and $1.63 on my laundry card. My love is better than yours. Thank you.
Thank you, David. That was amazing. I'm definitely going to buy your book. All right, our next reader is Joseph Rios. Joseph Rios is the former poet laureate of Fresno, he was a poet laureate of Fresno from 2023 to 2025, and a Wallace Stegner Fellow at Stanford University. He's the author of Shadowboxing, Poems and Impersonations, winner of the American Book Award. He has been a fellow with Macondo, Cantomundo, and the Academy of American Poets. He has been featured in Poets and Writers Magazine, KVPR, Forum at KQED, and the San Francisco Chronicle. He lives in Fresno. Please welcome Joseph.
Fresno. I just want to begin with some gratitude. Really grateful to have Francisco here, to have Luis Rodriguez here. I didn't expect to be so moved by having you both here, but I was thinking about what Francisco said about relationships, and I've been thinking a lot about recently. I was grateful to have Javier Zamora come to Fresno this past week, and I was thinking in the opening remarks, I said that, and we've been friends since undergrad. We've been friends almost 15 years now, and one of the things I said when I opened was one of the greatest gifts that a life in poetry can give is friendship. And all the friendships that I've collected over the years are what make this poetry life really worthwhile. So I really was really affected by what you said, Francisco and Luis, like that. Just grateful to both of you for a lifetime, 2 lifetimes of opening doors and making pathways and roadways for, you know, I was about to say for young poets like me, but I'm not that young anymore. There are younger poets than me now that are in their, you know, coming in undergrad right now and getting their MFAs that are going to reap the fruits of a lifetime of work that you have done. So I give a big hand to both of them. I was the recipient of in some way of Francisco's labors. This book, in a lot of ways, is because of Francisco. Because when I was still working on the manuscript that became this book, Francisco called me out of the blue. I think he messaged me on Facebook first, which tells you how long ago that was, and called me and he says, "Do you mind if I could call you? I have something I want to talk to you about." And I remember I was in Fresno and I was at my grandparents' house, and he called me and he essentially offered me this residency that I didn't know existed, but it was at the Anderson Center in Red Wing, Minnesota. And if that sounds familiar, it is the place they make the boots. There's about 5,000 people that live in that town, but there's also this 100-year-old, 120-year-old mansion that's there, and they have an artist residency there. And I remember what was funny about it was that, and this was over 10 years ago, but he was talking to me about it, and he told me what it was, and I said, "Yeah, I'm down. That's amazing. Thank you. I'm so down." And Francisco was like, "Well, you know, you might want to consider it. Some people have family or a job or children or that they have to consider in order to accept something like this." And I was like, no, none of that. I have none of that. I have no kids. I have no job. I have no wife. Like, I was like, I'm good. Like, let's do this. He's like, "Well, I'll call you in a week." I said, "Look, if you call me in a week, I'm going to say yes again." So yeah, I got to spend a month in Red Wing, Minnesota, and on the very last day of my residency, all the other 4 artists who were staying there left, and I was submitting like frantically to manuscript prizes. And on that day, I submitted to Omnidon, which eventually would accept the book. So I'm really grateful to Francisco for that. It was I still talk about that month I spent in Red Wing all the time. It was such an incredible experience. I'll say more about Alan's work, but one of the things that I appreciate, and I'm glad that David ended on with like referencing music, because I felt like I think that's definitely one thing that binds all 3 of our works, I think, is that using music as a sort of a means of reference. And so there's this poem I wrote in here that is dedicated to Art Laboe, the late Art Laboe, and famous DJ, coined the phrase "oldies but goodies," and he would get on the radio, and I remember even in Fresno, we grew up listening to him in Fresno too, and very famous here in LA and all over the Southwest. And the dudes would get on, or people would call, and they would give these dedications, and we would like make fun of them, because we're like, "Oh, this dude's locked up, man. They're like, because they say, 'Oh, where are you calling from?' And he'd be like, 'Corcoran,' or they'd say the town, and we knew in the Central Valley there was like, 'Oh, there's nothing but a prison there.' Like, this dude's calling from, and he's like, 'Hey, this is Smiley. I'm calling to send this out to my girl, La Sad Eyes,' and like, I'm your puppet." Like, it would just like, and we would just like crack up, listening to these dudes, and it's like so many things. Like, there's like this like we can laugh about it amongst each other, and we love the music, and then also sort of be heartbroken about the situation, right? That there are more prisons, at least between Bakersfield and Modesto, than there are colleges and universities and libraries, you know what I mean? Detention centers and federal prisons and state prisons and all these towns where whole economies are built on incarceration. And so somewhere in that mix, this poem lives. And it's called Little Anthony on the Outside. On the outside. Car speakers. The town I live in is lonely, the Midnighters. Why can't we live together, Timmy Thomas? The love we had stays on my mind, the Dells. Be thankful for what you got, William Devon. The world is a ghetto, war. It's okay, the sun glows. To be loved, Jackie Wilson. The world is a ghetto, war. It's okay, the sun glows. To be loved, Jackie Wilson. It's okay, the sun glows. To be loved, Jackie Wilson. I reach for the dial and discover I can bend the moonlight by turning the dial on this old radio. Art LeBeau talks to a man who claims to be from Avenal, California. It's his little girl's birthday and he's missed a few. He asks for the stylistics, you know the one, you're a big girl now. The producer tells Art, man, no one's really from Avenal. The producer reminds Art, you know no one's really from Avenal. I reach for the dial and discover I can bend the moonlight into a glowing, smiling now, crying later crescent, just as easily by turning the dial on this old radio. I'm driving out near San Joaquin because I didn't know what else to do. A man tells Art LeBeau he's lived in Corcoran for 11 years, hasn't been out just as long. He requests a song by the Dramatics, the one about rain. So I can remember, the Corcoran man says. I reach for the dial and discover I could bend the moonlight so it enters the windows of this car, through the passenger side and onto my girl's face, and damn, she looks fine. We're on the 46, headed to Pismo, gonna make a fire and camp out there on the beach, real romantic-like. A man from Wasco tells Art he's been away so long that his old lady of 8 years has already got a new dude up in the house, but he's not even tripping. The Wasco man requests the song Daddy's Home by Shep and the Limelights. The producer tells Art, no one's really from Wasco. The producer reminds Art, nobody's really from Wasco. Art, he says, you've been misled. Art, tell me, why do you insist on taking calls from these jokers? Art responds, I reached for the dial long ago and discovered I could bend the moonlight by turning the dial on this old radio. In the proper frequency, the light reaches towns you and I have never seen, like Wasco, like Avenal, like Corcoran, others, like Kern, like Chino, like Centinela, like Chowchilla, towns where corporations profit from caged human beings. This light jumps fences. It enters through the thickest of concrete walls. It opens locked iron doors, producer. The light hasn't need for windows. A good Catholic recalls the rule of intercession. I ask, what is a call but a prayer yet to be answered? The caged birds pray and Art intercedes. I carry their plea. I awaken the memories cataloged in the vinyl ridges of each song. I am the needle under the master's hand. That began as a prompt from Juan Felipe Herrera. I had the privilege of, he was a workshop leader at Community of Writers at near Lake Tahoe. And I asked him, I was like, you got to write a poem every day that week. And I said, well, I just wrote this one poem, and I'm like, I'm already tired, man. I don't know what to do. And he's like, oh yeah, you're talking about stamina, huh? Okay. He's like, so you what happens is you're trying to write a big poem, big poem. He's like, and you get tired, you're writing your big poem. He's like, you take a little break, write a little poem. You write a little poem. Maybe make a list of all the ways you could say the word blue. I was like, okay. And he's like, maybe a poem that's one word. Like, poem. Big. Put it on a mural. Poem. Big mural. Says poem. He's like, you like music? And I'm like, yeah, I like music. He's like, do a little playlist, write a little playlist, let's see what happens, I don't know. And I was like, okay, cool, man. Like, so started with a playlist, Art LeBeau. But yeah, that was sage advice from our poet laureate of the United States. He's heard me do that impersonation, so don't think he's mad at me or I'm making fun of him. He's heard it. He's like, yeah, it's pretty good. This one is sort of dedicated to another sort of historical figure, Oscar Zeta Acosta, who, again, another controversial figure in our history of our letters, but was really, his books were important to me when I first started reading anything that was called Chicano or Chicana literature. PBS did a documentary about him around the time I was still living here, some years back, and asked for some poems to be written about him. And I found myself a little conflicted. I was like, how do I talk about someone that is also like a sort of a polarizing figure, and I had mixed feelings and things, and so I was like, well, I have those. What I arrived at was that I have a lot of those same feelings about my own family, and about like tios and tias and people that I sit down for holidays with all the time, who I love and who love me, but are problematic in their own regards, And so I was like, well, how do I love on a figure that's so complicated through a poem? And so I came up with this. It's called Dear Buffalo, Dear Zeta, or To a Few of My Dead or Nearly Dead Tios. I still don't know what to do with this buffalo body. I crush teacups every time I raise them to my pursed lips. How do I tenderize the meat on my bones? Tio, I see my dead father's face in your face. His furrowed eyebrow, your puffed cheeks, weep into a pillow of inherited hands. This morning, I dry heaved a vat of foam into a toilet in Tampa and found no art in it. Who told us we deserved to die? My tio, you, the one with the brown beret, who saw the hydrogen bomb blow from an aircraft carrier in Bikini Island, the one with Hep C and a quiet wife. I don't know if you're still alive, but I pray this world has softened you with its firm, kneading hands, that you're still able to ride your bike up Holmesy to the liquor store on Cedar and can still reach the oranges in the yard. Tio, mi tio, when you wet the bed, is it still my tia's job to change the sheets? From the kitchen, I see the 12-foot spear over the maguey. I see its fresh blooms and know it's about to die. I wonder if it's better to disappear into Aslan or Mazatlan or Marzapan the way you did, or stay in Prather or Marysville and slowly fade into a sofa chair and reruns of Bonanza. Is there honor in being shot and skinned like Reuben, hacked up in a hospital for lymphoma research, poked and drained with the swollen face of a failed liver? How many more fists will be raised until we can no longer, or better yet, don't have to? I'm tired of thinking these things. Come back, Dio, or whatever. My mom saved you a plate. Also, you left your mesh t-shirt here, and I've been wearing it. I left my phone over here. Another cool thing that happens to poets is once you've been around long enough is people ask you to blurb their books, which is a really cool, it's just a really cool moment for a poet. And so I'm just going to read what I wrote about Alan's book as we invite him up. Chazaro is the bard of the bay, the bard of the barrio. Like my late grandfather, Chazaro keeps time recalling cars and songs from the past. They mark time like tree rings. They unlock portals of memory like the vinyl ridges on a record. His poems create temporal shifts and catalog neighborhood histories from Oakland to Jackson Heights. The poems are laced with references just for the homies. They're shout-outs. With these spaceships weren't built for us, Chazaro transforms the Ranfla, the Hoopty, and the G-Ride into a spaceship and time machine. He points our gaze to the sky, and we long to take flight while simultaneously holding on to our roots and what keeps our feet on the ground. Big hand for Alan in his new book.
Buenas tardes, everybody. Hella humbling to be here. I live in Veracruz now with my mom, where my parents are from. So traveling from the mountains of southeastern Mexico, like 48 hours ago, getting picked up by Louis Vuitton, is just really reminding me like why I love this craft and why we write to begin with. Like just being able to travel, to have citizenship, the privileges of all of that is really what went into this book for me, and the idea of spaceships and building something that we need to get places in the same way that Luis did when I was a community college student. You already know this dude, but like really, really one of the first writers that provoked me to even think that I could even dare to be a writer was as a teenager doing graffiti, cutting classes, getting kicked out of Avid and all these things. And then a book like that lands in front of not just me, but like a classroom of me's in my generation of millennial Bay Area kids. And then for all that, and then Francisco to be like hella tapped in and being like, hey, dude, I'm working on this book. And that was almost 10 years ago that I told Francisco that I was working on the beginnings of this book. And he kept in touch and like, da-da-da-da. And I'm in Mexico doing Zoom with this guy. And then he's like, I think I got something for you. And then Joseph was one of the like more important contemporary Chicano voices from the time that I was a grown student, like in grad school. Already had taught high school for many years, and I read your book, dude. So to have all of you, and then everybody here, like homies coming from different parts of LA, like I know it's hella traffic here, so just really humbled. Thank you so much. I'll start with rap, shocking. It's 9:44 p.m. and I'm listening to the song 7 a.m. by Playboi Carti. Because I'm bored and everything is static. Earlier, I rambled around IKEA in Emeryville wearing a mask. I picked up plushy dinosaurs and rearranged the leather chairs and dish racks while pretending they could fit somewhere inside my mind. I went home empty-handed, then fixed the broken taillights on my Volkswagen. I hit up Home Depot and picked up a door to install in our bedroom. I spent half an hour watching a YouTube video called How to Cut Perfect Door Hinges. I learned about the recesses on the flat of a door jamb, about mortises and palm routers. By nightfall, Bernardo was outside mowing our lawn. Grandma always used to say, his yard work is beautiful. Bernardo used to live in the back shed, slept with our tools. He lived somewhere else after that, and we'd sometimes see him around. He rode his bicycle on our street while my AirPods were in. Bernardo is no longer with us. Those were crazy times. Like, I was literally fucking buying doors at Home Depot and like learning how to install that. And my wife gave me so much shit because I'm hella not like a hands-on kind of person at all. So this one's for you, Louis Vuitton, because it mentions the East Coast. Spacesuit or learning how to float through public space. I'm somewhere between high and low altitudes right now, where the snow begins to bear hug a rising surface and the outside looks like a gentle suffocation. I don't mean to suggest there is violence happening. I mean to say that these branches can become instruments for the body, that rocks and cold air can carry more than our breath, I'm where Ashland, Oregon borders on California's limits, though there isn't much change across state lines. I wonder how many borders are crossed without us ever knowing. I wonder if these signs are signaling more than our current elevation. A tribe called Quest vibrates from the back of my skulled memory. David explains the origins of vaporwave while my phone slow dies. I keep responding to brightly illuminated text messages, but there are hundreds of miles left to go. I'm in the back seat of a Toyota Corolla, caught in forward motion. I'm somewhere between high and low, and I've lost count of the bridges we've slipped beneath. Fanny points to the wingspan of a hawk, points at a car we passed earlier. I didn't notice, but notice how many buildings are ghosted between Portland and San Francisco, machinery and big-wheeled work trucks expanding across this slippery spectrum. Imagine the darkest bodies in our solar system without any light to interrupt them. What's the longest you've ever held your breath? Are you still holding? A part of the Sierra forest is gone, chunked into nearby log stacks along the road. A playlist of Andre Nicotina never ends, like rainfall, but I don't feel trapped by this. I feel the pouring, the downward rumble. This isn't necessarily bad, the falling. Isn't it how the ancients once wrote about the beginning of new things? I was told that when we're born, we're already in a fallen position, so we must learn how to undo this by walking. I was told we are given one body to fall into, so we must learn quickly. Appreciate you guys. I'm not hella funny like this guy over here, the Fresno Port Laureate Master of the Mic, but I've never read this poem, but a few people that have read the book have already told me that this was their favorite one. So I'm going to read it for the first time here. And this one's for you, Chris, because this is about our abuelita. My Mexican abuela taught me how to land on the moon. When I first kissed my abuela's language, it felt like I was floating on a third moon. Some people say we've never even landed on the first moon. Some people think the world isn't really globed. I don't believe in flatness and rarely consider gravity unless I'm falling. Maybe I should. Have you ever been so unsatisfied with the present that you present yourself with a solution that doesn't make sense? A city in China proposed to build a replica of the moon and hang it like a photograph framed in the night sky. They said it would hold the city's light in times of darkness to conserve energy. What if conserving energy was actually a bad thing? What if we never learned to cleanse our mouths of whatever needed saying? I guess I'm not sure if there's ever a perfect moment. If there's more to these strangled breaths and emptiness, if we simply imagine whatever we want for ourselves, impossible forms of comfort. When my abuelita passed, I didn't cry. She gave me her impossible comfort from 2 feet away. She gave me many moons in my upturned palms. When I need her, I return to their many surfaces. They keep me grounded with impossibilities. Thank you, thank you. What the alien tried saying in a language he does not speak. Lately, I'm walking backwards into myself. Lately, I am unspoken. Nepantla, spoken backward, is liberation. The U.S. territories around my tongue are bordered. Resistance is not letting anyone inside because resistance is a burning. My abuela's lengua is the result of someone else's violence. This is an alternate way of saying forced entry, another sound for memoria. I dream in inverted silhouettes of upside-down question marks and dip into galaxies above Enye. My alphabet is a scarring of air, the breaking of unsplit lips. I asked the machista what he believed about bullet-pointed honesty. He answered with bullets. I should have asked if he's ever learned how to unswallow his own songs. Give me more, and I'll untether myself from this. Give me less, and I'll speak in a body unbroken by punctuations. I love basketball, but fuck Kevin Durant, guys. But I wrote a poem about Kevin Durant, so this is called A Portrait of Kevin Durant Leaving the Brooklyn Nets. And he's been on the Hell team since then and before then. Oh, God. Don't even get me started, bro. I respect Clippers fans. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, if you're a Clippers fan, you're real as hell because everybody likes the Lakers. A Portrait of Kevin Durant Leaving the Brooklyn Nets. I'm wearing an orange knit beanie, a camouflage North Face fleece, and a pair of Nike up-tempos I bought in Mexico from a group of men who smelled like exchanged pesos inside a vacant room. Back in the Bay, I'm on 23rd Ave in Richmond. I'm walking past the houseless dude who looks at me and flicks his thumb in the shape of a lighter. I don't have gasoline, don't carry $1, but tell him that I'll bless him on my way out. I get cash inside the liquor store to put inside his palms, but when I return, he's ghosted. Everything moves fast here. Bicycle spokes, police cruisers, the man who parks his Impala in front of grandma's house but never rolls down his tinted windows. Sometimes I give him a head nod and his hair shines back. He has 2 English mastiffs that he keeps off leash. It's cold and warm here at the same time. The San Pablo Bay cuts along the edges of our neighborhood, pushing the salt and smoke and oil from the nearby Chevron refinery into our tracheas. It's autumn during a pandemic. My phone vibrates with empty messages. My head is overheated and everything is a jigsaw. I scroll through Twitter and see Kevin Durant in a retro Nets jersey, half smiling. Let's go Warriors. I love Kevin Durant, actually, what am I saying? He brought us a few rings. This one's for David. It's called 16 Reasons Why a DACA Dreamer Will Be the First Person to Build a Do-It-Yourself Spaceship from Simple Materials. 1. Because dreamers already know how to work under atmospheric pressure. 2, because according to the dictionary, if you describe someone as a dreamer, you mean that they spend a lot of time thinking about and planning for things that they would like to happen, but which are improbable or impractical. And what's less practical than being 52,000 altitudes out of reach? 3, because flying means learning how to lift yourself off the angles of a planet with nothing to keep you afoot. 4, because when Adrian was deported, he told me he would go far away, and I'm not sure he meant Mexico City, and I'm not sure he wanted to leave, and I'm not sure that after living for decades in California, he wasn't more American than my blue Levi's, more American than Max Bataro's white Mustang 5.0, more American than listening to the red noise of Jimi Hendrix's national anthem in Guillermo's bedroom on a school night. I've never been sure. 5, because how else can you transcend these burning grids? 6, because dreamers have also been called aliens since birth, and well, aliens know how to build spaceships, right? 7, because our government states, quote, under this version of the DREAM Act, immigrants could qualify in part by meeting the following requirements: being between the ages of 12 and 35 at the time the law is enacted, and arriving in the United States before the age of 16, as if asking a child to keep dreaming into adulthood isn't some form of psychological colonization, as if dreamers won't eventually wake up. 8, because when civilizations are magicked from mud, futures can happen while stargazing from a naked rooftop. 9, because fuck Donald Trump 3.6 million times, one for each dreamer. 10, because whenever Kanye West rapped on his first album, The College Dropout, we'd parrot along in the back seat of my brother's 1996 Jetta on 101, our windows down, the wind passing by, a squad of Mexican-blooded boys learning how to embrace the Bay Area's cold warmth as our own. 11, because everyone I know who's a dreamer has only ever given and given and given and given and given and still. 12, because I remember smoking late nights at Sergio's house and seeing his father, uncles, brothers, cousins rise for work like solar bodies circling the vacant air while the rest of us were entering sleep, when the city was a thick oil spill of the deepest shades of dark, and even then, deeper than that. 13, because in the unseenness of space, no one can question your legality. 14, because there is already a loss of air and gravity in los estados jodidos. 15, because don't dreamers know what it means to have an expiration on selfhood more than any of us? On September 5th, 2017, President Trump ordered an end to the Deferred Action on Childhood Arrivals program. This program shields young, undocumented immigrants who often arrived at a very young age in circumstances beyond their control from deportation. 16, because who else has already traveled between worlds and survived to tell its secrets? – 17, I'm gonna end on this poem because I feel like it's one of. I tried hella hard to like put joy in this book, but hard to do these days, guys. I don't know if you've heard, but it's rough out there. But this poem always brings me joy, so I'll end on this note. Someone's astronaut deal is selling a constellation of paletas on a faraway tropical planet. Because even the fringe planets need the music of cart-pushing paleteros, their voices lifting from wildly decorated spaceships. And I don't mean to make this about some pocho sci-fi shit, but I will. I'll slide the freshest galactic currency into the gloved palms of someone else's astronaut deal. Because right now, I'm inside the paleta multiverse, where paleteros are living their best lives, where they never get assaulted because that would be a communal felony, where they collect unlimited clout and retirement funds for their hustle on a faraway tropical planet. And I say tropical because it's hot there, and everyone will need the religion of something cold on a stick to enjoy. And these paleteros will be the most luminous gods we've known. We will praise their frozen galaxies, memorializing their routes like biblical scriptures graffitied onto asteroid belts from here to the Luna and back. And nothing will ever melt here. How could it? Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Felicidades otra vez to Alan. Please give him a round of applause. Alan will be signing books at the bookstore, so please buy a book or two. Maybe, gift them. It's really awesome. They are great gifts to give. I want to say thank you to Beyond Baroque one more time. Thank you to Eric, who's in the booth, for live streaming this. Thank you to David and Joseph for your beautiful words, and Francisco and Luis, again, thank you so much. And again, have a good night, everybody.